Right, hello. Today I'm going to demonstrate quite an easy task, how to remove the front headlight cluster from the VX220. So in order to do this, we'll need some tools. Firstly, we'll need a ratchet. We'll need a couple of extensions. One long extension would do. A universal joint would be extremely useful, although not absolutely necessary, but very useful. And a 13mm socket. Basically, the headlight on the VX220 is held in by one 13mm bolt and a bracket. So I'm going to show you now where that bolt is and how to undo it. So here we are. We've popped the bonnet, and I'm taking a wide shot so you can see the way I'm moving in. So there's the front of the car. The headlamp's just on the left-hand edge, and you can see the fuse box there. And if I can get this camera down low enough, let's see, zooming in, if we can see where that bolt is. When you actually do it, you're going to have to stick your head in, but let me get down further. There's the bracket. Still haven't got down to the bolt yet. And there's the bolt. Okay, so let me zoom back out again. So you can see where we are, fuse box. Now I've got this camera low enough. You can see the bracket, that's vertical. And there's one bolt there, well, it's a stud. And there is a lock nut on the stud. You can see a penny washer and lock nut. So we're going to basically undo that nut in order to remove the headlamp. There you go, that's nicely in focus now. Okay, hopefully that's good for you.
It's recorded.
Right, so what I'm going to do now, I can feel it with my fingers. And I'm going to put my wrench in there and undo that. And to be honest with you, depending on how good your nylock nut is, you can loosen it a bit, and then after that I simply use the universal joint and the socket to undo the rest of it. Carefully place it on my radiator. Now, what is very important is that you don't want to drop the nut or the washer when you're removing this. So, loosen it, and when it feels quite easy, remove your socket and do the rest by hand. Remember to keep a tight grip of the nut, because you really don't want to drop this. So, there's the nut. Put that on the radiator. The next thing to come out will be the washer. If you pull the clamp off, you will drop the washer, or you may drop the washer, you're on risk. So try and get the washer off first. There's the washer, the penny washer. Now the clamp, that's the easy bit to hold on to. And there's the clamp, come off. And now, just give it a little push from the stud. And there we go, the headlamp comes off. So that was quite easy. This one has an HID conversion on it, but removing the wires and the plugs are not very difficult. So, if we have a little closer look at this, what we can see is basically the headlamp has this stud coming out of it, and basically the stud fits through this bracket behind the headlamp. Your clamp goes at the back of this bracket. So look, you can see there's an angled edge on this clamp, and then there is a more straight edge. So the angled edge goes to the top. That fits on the back of it, like so. And then obviously you then put your penny washer and your nut behind, and you tighten that up. Now, a number of people ask about how to adjust the headlamps. So if I just turn this around, so if you think this is the edge of the headlamp, that's on the on the edge of the car. If I just turn this around very carefully, or we'll turn it this way around. Here you will see an adjustment nut. Now that is an 8mm nut, and it's very simply adjusted. You might find yours is stiff. Some people do say there's a stiff, so do use well, I don't know what you would use because it's attached to something there, but basically an 8mm socket, and you can turn this, put it over the top and turn it by hand, and that will adjust it up and down. I'm not going to adjust mine because I've actually adjusted them on a proper, actually at the MOT station, and they're exactly where they should be. However, you don't need to remove your headlamp to adjust it. So what actually happens is, while this headlamp is in situ, I can show you now, behind the headlamp there is a hole here that goes into your wheel arch. So if I put my hand in behind the wheel arch, you can see I can stick my finger through that hole. So basically the adjustment the adjustment nut is accessible from there. It actually sits right there. So when I put this headlamp back, I'm going to show you how we can adjust it from the wheel arch. All we do is turn the steering wheel to the left so we've got some room, and we'll put it in. Now, how to replace the headlamp. At the bottom of the headlamp are two, I don't know what you call these, they're sort of lugs, I suppose, in one sense. But basically they will fit inside here. So you have two apertures here, just on the top of the bumper, and they'll fit inside there. So it's not a difficult job. So if you put it in a little bit with a little bit of an angle and keep your eye on it, make sure they go inside there. There you go, they go in, and that's my headlamp back in place. So the next thing then to do is to take my bracket. Remember the bracket? So this bracket's going to fit behind it that way with the angled edge on top. Again, we do this all by feel now. You don't really have to look because you know what you're expecting. Put the bracket on. Take the penny washer. Do the opposite of removal. Take your nylock nut. Might be a good idea to put a new nylock nut on. I'm satisfied that this one's okay. And then take my socket. Easier to turn it, and I can tighten it by hand. I'm holding this in place. I think it's a better way to do it. Right. So now, after you've done that, make a visual inspection by sticking your head down here to see that your bracket is actually straight, hasn't moved to the left or to the right. If it has, slightly slacken it off and tighten it up with your hand. Then simply put the ratchet back in there and just give it a little nick. You don't want to tighten it too much, otherwise you might break something, but you definitely want it secure, and hence a nylock nut. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how to adjust your headlight whilst the lamp is in situ, which is the proper way to do it, otherwise you won't know whether you've done it right or not. So I've turned the front wheel to the right, and there's the hole. Normally you should have a grommet on this. Mine doesn't have one on there to prevent water ingress, etc. But I only ever drive my car pretty much in the dry. I don't know if you can see it. If we zoom in there, then the adjustment nut is just there. So I will take my 8mm socket with an extension. I will just put it over the nylock, the adjustment nut, and then I'll just turn it by hand. I think one way it will adjust it up, one way it will adjust it down. It's simple as that.